Chapter 3, How I Met Oshun. When we stopped in Chapter 2, I look out the window and it's raining.
I think, wow. Get up, grab my keys, go out to the landing, put on my raincoat, grab my bike helmet, fly down the stairs, unlock my bike, jump on the bicycle.
I biked over to Williamsburg in the rain, over to Plan B, an event space along the Williamsburg-Brooklyn waterfront.
I go in and I see my friend Josefa, and she waves at me to come in, and have a seat, which I do. So they finish up their singing, and now it's time to go and get the blessing.
Meeting Oshun at the Gira. In Brazilian culture, Oshun is the goddess of sweet water.
The presiding personality for this ceremony is Oshun. So as I queue up to stand in line to go in to get this blessing, which I realize now is going to be some kind of a message, the woman who is acting as the usherette, she looks at me and she says, "Tell me if you prefer to speak to a man or a woman. It doesn't really matter, but if you have a preference, let me know." And I look at her and I say, well, actually, yeah, I would actually prefer to speak to a woman. But what I didn't tell her, and that I kept in my mind, because I thought it was rude to say something like that, a little pushy, and I didn't want to be pushy. I thought, but I'd really like to speak to Oshun. I wanted to speak to the water itself. Sure enough, I get led right over to Oshun and the woman who is assisting Oshun. Because mind you, this person only speaks Portuguese, okay? She doesn't speak any English, but her assistant was acting as a translator. She looks at me and she says, "Are you all right?" So I look at her and I say, "I'm fine. It's just that I saw my mother."
I'm wondering if you see the humor in this like I do. Of course, Oshun, being Oshun, already knew this.
And so she begins to give me a message from my mother.
The message was about to be delivered, and in essence, the message was to let go of the past.
Your mother says that you must completely let go of the past. You have to move forward. Your hands are the way in which your mother is going to communicate with you. I found this to be a very interesting point because my mother was a writer. And of course, you use your hands to write, or at least that's the way my mother preferred to write, because she felt that it was a very different experience using, a pen to a paper, because it was connected to your heart and your breath and your thoughts, and that the rhythm of writing is different when you write by hand.
I also received how-to instructions, how to receive messages independently.
Then she said, you need to go to the water. You need to go to the ocean. And when you go to the sea, go there and meditate.
She told me to gaze at the horizon.
And when you look at the horizon line, that is how your mother is going to speak to you. That is how she is going to communicate with you, basically through your heart. She emphasized again that I really needed to let go of the past and kind of hinted that I needed to do that pretty soon. So I went home, picked up the phone, I called my friend Barry, and I said, "Hey, Barry, can you take me to the beach on Tuesday morning? Apparently my mother wants to tell me something." And he said, "Sure, I'll pick you up at 7 a.m.
This is my friend Barry. Notice the sugar skull.
So Tuesday morning rolls around, we take off and go to the Rockaways.
At that hour of the morning, it only took about 20 minutes to get to the Rockaways, and it was a beach that I had been going to with my parents ever since I was a little girl.
So Barry and I got to the beach, we set up his little tent, we set up the blankets and all of that, and then when I was satisfied that, I had assisted him enough, I said, "Hey Barry, I'll be back in a minute, I'm gonna go talk to Mom." He's like, "Okay." So I walk along the beach and I sit cross-legged and I look out the horizon and I wait because I think, at any moment I'm going to get a message. After sitting there for about 5 or 10 minutes, I realized that I needed to be personal, that I actually needed to address my mother and let her know that I was there and ask her what she wanted to tell me.
It's all about the relationship.
I mean, on the one hand, you could say, well, sure, Spirit already knows that because Spirit, knows everything. But there's a lot to be said for having a relationship and being personal, because that's what we want anyway, isn't it? We all want some kind of relationship. We want a meaningful relationship. So I said, "Okay, Mom, I'm here. What is it that you wanted to tell me?" Looking out at the horizon, I waited a few more moments, and then I just got a very strong impression in my heart. Suddenly, everything became very clear to me, and I could understand that I needed to leave New York City pronto, and I needed to go to live with my grandfather in Arizona because I was starting to get the feeling or the message that he might not be around for too much longer.
My trip to the beach had provided me with mental clarity and an action plan. I had to leave my home behind me, and that required a lot of faith. I had to travel to the unknown. I was going to have to walk the walk. You've been listening to Jai Radhamadava from my album Yoga on the Dance Floor. Thank you for listening and watching Akayani Music.